Hi, hello, welcome back. I'm sorry about the audio issues for this one and the last one. I lost my good headphones, so now I'm recording on really cheap headphones, so this might sound a bit different, and I'm just trying to be not as loud so it doesn't, I don't know. Anyways, um, we're in the third installment. We're on to Rabbit, or Rabbitleap, as you might see in the video title. I spent a long time unsure of exactly what I wanted her story to be, and whether or not I felt comfortable sharing that online because her story has a big content warning on it. I've always intended for this to be her story, and in this part, I'll talk about what I'm wholly removed from it soon. But I have always intended for her story to be the most adult and more difficult to sit through because I was really, really upset with how Warriors handled adult topics in certain ways. So I wanted to do that with River Chasing, just have it be more adult and confrontational, and just yeah, let's just get into it. So, Rabbitleap was born to, I'm blanking on their names, Bumblelight and Smoke Curl. Bumblelight was her mother. She is showcased in one of the three little just single heads because she died during the kidding, so she knows her daughter not at all. Very unfortunate. She also is the sister of Echofen, the current patriarch. So that's an interesting little detail. Now, Smoke Curl is where the drama comes in. He has two other siblings in Silkfeather and Owljaw, and he currently is one of the two healers as a mentor. He is not known to be the father. He didn't mention that he was the father. It was kind of frowned upon for him to be the father, so he just never said anything. And Rabbit looks so close to her mother anyways, so people just didn't really ask who the father was. And that's where the issue comes in. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about Nightdawn. She's the one who you can see taking care of little baby Rabbit when she was unnamed. I really like Nightdawn because she's just a protector figure. She gets to help raise Rabbit because she was already a Molly who had nursed. She had already been a mother, so it wasn't it wasn't like they had to get another colony for help or anything like that. They just already had someone who was like ready to go and take care of it, and that's why you want sometimes a guardian to be a Molly because they can nurse. So Rabbit spent, all that early time in camp, and she only spent it with Nightdawn, Wormtongue, who was another, he's another one of the guardians, and he was more busy doing the actual, like, building and protecting and all of that. And the other person was Marigold Shadow. She was at the point when Rabbit was young, a retiree. She was recently injured. She had lost one of her eyes. She was badly ripped up. You can see in the speed paint. And during the time that Rabbit was growing up, Marigold Shadow was relearning how to be a dweller and spent a lot of time in camp because her mother was worried, her mother being Nightdawn, and she just kind of hung around a lot. So that's there was a really significant relationship between Marigold Shadow and Rabbit, and a lot of people in the colony kind of believed that when Marigold Shadow returned to being a dweller, that since it was around the same time that Rabbit became, 6 months old, that when she earned her name, she was going to get Marigold Shadow as her dweller. Wrong. A worse choice was made. That choice being Owljaw, Smoke Curl's brother, aka Rabbit's uncle that she didn't know that she had. I do not like Owljaw. Okay. Owljaw is bad Stinkman. He's, I am not in favor of him at all. However, I find his story very interesting. No sympathy for him, but cool story, bro. He is basically a not that interesting, not that excitable dweller. He's not like, he doesn't have a whole lot of things going for him. He is average. He is pretty average. He might be just a tad below average. And Echo Fang picked it because he was worried that Marigold Shadow was too injured still and didn't want to put all that unnecessary tension on her. Even if they did have a good relationship, he didn't want her to get upset because because her mother started to baby her, she started to get more angry. So Echo Fang was like, I don't want that for a Rabbit who is the most shy, nervous little baby to ever exist. So Owljaw was, because he seemed like the only one that could do it. And I really liked that about Owljaw, that he was just kind of like the last person on the list that they're like, okay, fine, take it. Because he didn't do anything special to get it, and that was really funny to me, but also he's a horrible person. So being the horrible guy he is, during training Rabbit, who is starting at 6 months old, going up to maybe 2 years. 2 years is like the latest. There's no exact, I've been like bouncing around with an exact age that these cats should be, but it's generally, you want them to be over a year old, closer to maybe a year and a half, and they're not going to go past 2 years. So 2 years is like the latest that you can be still training, because they don't want to have cats training for too long. So yeah, and they also think that you can learn everything you need to learn in a year and a half, and then if there are outward circumstances, you can always go and get another colony's opinion. It's a whole thing. But during the time that Rabbit is training, and the time that she, matures and becomes an adult, Owljaw, little creep grease creep, he gets a crush on her, which is not okay. Okay, it's not. It's very creepy, and he doesn't know that that's his niece, because he doesn't know that his brother had a kid. So he gets a crush on his niece, and then after she earns her name and becomes Rabbitleap, very quickly does she have children with him. And actually, at the first point in River Chasing, at the end of the first book, that's kind of, she becomes, she finds out that she's pregnant. And then the second book is split between her and Wavetail's point of view. And we get to hear that she's having kids and see her process as a mother. Now, I don't take this lightly in the narrative. This is not something that I easily talk about. It's not like I didn't want to spot it leaf, right? I didn't want to do that. So it's talked about that Wave, who is our first protagonist, right? She gets to hear about this and is very sus about it. And that's kind of our opinion, because she very much is like, that's not okay. Right, so I'm looking at my notes right here. Okay, so as they hunt, Wave asks about Owljaw and says that Owljaw is pretty cool for exposing her to so much. Because the previous line was talking about how Rabbit's hunting in the forest a lot, which is interesting because their colony lives in like tunnels, and forest is a lot for her to experience. So Rabbit twins and said that she's really into him, hinting that they might become mates when she's a dweller. Wave kind of brushes this off at first, and then when I'm trying to find it, this is at the first gathering that they have. Yeah, okay, so later Ember is talking about how Tawny Spark is getting attention from Snowfoot, and he's not happy about that. And then Rabbit tells him that he's too young to be thinking about mates, even if it's his father's mate, and Wave tells him the same thing, which makes her frown. So Wave is clearly like, hey, I think you're too young, you're like about my age, and I'm too young to be thinking about that, please stop. Next gathering, I've only written 2, so it's been a while to try to shove this in. Okay, so yeah, sorry, I should have had this pulled up earlier, but so during this, she sits down with Ember, Doc, and Rabbitleap. Wave does, and Ember asked Rabbitleap if she has any plans for the future. Rabbitleap says that she might want to become a mother. Remember, last gathering, which it's only a month apart, she was talking about how she wants to be mates, now she wants to be a mother. Doc asks who, and she says in return that she and Owljaw has discussed it. She's only had her name for a short while. Wave corrects her that he was her mentor and that it would be weird, and Rabbitleap grows a bit embarrassed, saying that they are in love and that it would be fine. Her friends look at each other and Wave sighs, saying that just because somebody loves you doesn't mean you need to have kids with them. Rabbit changes the subject. So, I want to push in the narrative that not okay. The original narrative that I had included all this and included everyone being kind of sus about it. Rabbitleap going ahead with it because she's being, kind of groomed into it and doesn't really know any better. Of course, like rose-tinted glasses, the whole 9 yards. But when she has her kits, she meets up with Doc, Ember, Wave, who are at that point all with their full names, and she ends up dying during the kitting, just like her mother. And I thought back on that, and I went, no, that's terrible. I don't want the victim, the abused victim, to die a painful death and not get to, be happy or, live on. So, I'm not exactly certain what the story is going to be after that, but she does get to live and live for a while and raise her kits, or kit, I haven't decided how many she has. So that's about all. Next week I'll be talking about the rest of this fucking disaster clan. So, I don't cuss. That was the first time I cussed in this. My bad. So yeah. It's a small colony, my bad. Small colony. So should be lots of time to go over all of the absolute nonsense that these guys get into. Yeah, this was also an attempt at making river chasing just a bit more adult. Well, not exactly more adult, but just maybe covering heavier topics. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.